City Sports Podcast.
And McAllister down the left field line. Connor Tate is going to round third. He will score. And rounding third is Blaylock. He will score. And the Dogs walk it off.
If you're looking for the latest Georgia Bulldog news in football, basketball, baseball, and recruiting, then you are in the right place.
It's third down, Bryce Young's career. You need 10, play clock at 4. From the pocket, launching downfield, underthrown and intercepted. Keely Ringo has an escort down the sidelines. All the way to the end zone, and Georgia is going to conquer the Crimson Tide.
Hosted by Jeremiah Stoddard and Jonathan Williams.
Georgia on the mountaintop. Demons be gone, and the drought is over. National champions at long last.
Just sit back, relax, and prepare yourself for these hot takes you're about to listen to.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Classic City Sports. As always, Jeremiah Stoddard and Jonathan Williams. And if you just listened to that intro right there, you heard it begin with McAllister down the line. Well, guess what? We got Josh McAllister on the podcast today. Got to talk a little bit about some Georgia baseball coaching changes coming on. I think a lot of people kind of saw the change coming with Scott Strickland this year. Just kind of seemed like things got a little stagnant. We'll get into that kind of stuff and the new hire there. I'm going to talk some NIL stuff because there's a lot of stuff circulating right now with NCAA Football 24 coming out next year. And there's all the NIL side of that's being talked about, and the Players Association kind of getting in on that a little bit. And so we're going to talk about that. And then if we got time, we got a little bit of a fun segment at the end that I'll tease y'all with as well. But so stick around for that in a little bit. But Josh, appreciate you having me on the show. How you feeling, brother?
Absolutely, dude. Again, last year when you called me, or last summer when you finally texted me after I'd been blowing y'all up, it was so much fun to come on. And, I'm just blessed. We kept this friendship and this dialogue going, and you guys decided to bring me back on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, first of all, you're welcome anytime, by the way. You've got my phone number. You can shoot it to I think JJ Frazier did that to me one day because we've had him on the show a couple times and stuff. And one day he just texted me, was like, bro, I got some stuff to talk about. I was like, come on. So yeah. Same invite for you. Anytime that you want to come
Understood.
on, you know how to reach me and how to get on here.
Understood.
It's always open. But Jonathan, let's jump straight into this. How we feeling? Obviously, we've got the coaching change coming. At Georgia, you got Wes Johnson coming. He was LSU's pitching coach coming on to take over for Scott Strickland. I think it's personally, before I send it over to you, it's a pitching coach, right? And one thing that Georgia has needed some help in that department of was pitching this year. In the past couple of seasons, outside of the COVID year, you had plenty of pitchers that year, and then obviously it got shut down. I mean, you had some first round draft pick kind of pitchers going on, so things kind of fell apart after that. Recruiting wise, I feel like that could be a good area for him to start. I don't know how you're feeling about that.
Well, it's so different between like college baseball and college football, because when like big time coaching positions open up, like Georgia's football head coaching spot did a few years ago in 2016, like everybody knows the names that are circulating through that position, guys that are being interviewed, guys that they're looking at. Tom Herman was in the mix for a while, and then Kirby Smart's name gets put in the mix. Like, who is being interviewed for that position. You know who your potential candidates are. But with college baseball, it's very different. One, there's a lot of teams in the mix. There's so many coaches spread across the nation. And so you really don't get that information of like, who is Georgia necessarily targeting? It's just a lot of guys in the media saying like, this is who I think they should go after. So then they hire Wes Johnson. Like I said, it's just kind of out of the blue. Nobody knows it's really happening. And so, my natural reaction was like, let's just Google him. Let's see what pops up when you Google Wes Johnson and you see that he's the pitching coach at LSU. But there's so much more history to this guy, and there's a lot of good history with this guy. He's been in the SEC for a very long time, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and LSU. He also had a stint with the Minnesota Twins. In those 2 years that he was with the Minnesota Twins, they won back-to-back division titles. He was also the first college coach to ever make the jump straight to the major leagues without having any other prior experience in the major leagues. He just went college to the MLB, first coach ever in major league history. So that's pretty telling of what people in the baseball world think about Wes Johnson. He was a pitching coach in Minnesota. In 2020, had the AL Cy Young runner-up on his squad. So he has a lot of experience. He has a lot of history to his name when it comes to developing pitchers. I think he's had 30 guys taken in the MLB draft that are pitchers. This year, he has a guy, I know his last name is Schemes for LSU. Many have named him the National Pitcher of the Year. He's going to be a first-round pick. So he's probably
going to win the Golden Spikes Award.
Yeah, he's definitely probably going to win the Golden Spikes Award as well. So he has a lot of big-time names to his name as well, guys that aren't on his resume. And that's the thing with him, but that sticks out to me most about Wes Johnson is that his resume is just littered with a lot of success as a college coach, whether it's his team succeeding or just him personally at his position coach standpoint, him succeeding there as well. So a great resume for Wes Johnson.
Yeah, for sure. And Josh, I want to give you a chance to talk because you played for Scott Strickland. So I want to give you the chance to kind of talk about that and like the experience being in the locker room with him, kind of coaching. I know it's probably, a not necessarily the happiest thing to see a coach that you played for get fired like that. I know Cole Wilcox, one of your teammates, he talked about it on Twitter, how great of a guy he was, all that kind of stuff. So I want to give you a chance to kind of talk about, your experience playing under him. And then talk to us about how you feel about, the decision they made going with Wes Johnson.
Right. Well, this is, and never will I bash Coach Strickland for anything, because without Coach Strickland, I don't know y'all. I don't know what it's like to wear the G. I don't know what it's like to play at Foley Field, because I had no business. He had no business taking a chance on me, and for some reason, somebody got in his ear and he was like, sure, you can come out. And I formed a good relationship with Strickland. I wasn't the best, I don't know how I want to say this. I could be tough to coach sometimes. I know that. And, he kicked me in the ass a couple of times, well deserved. But he built the foundation. When this all happened, the past couple of years, and it started brewing, and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Him and I hate to do this, but him and Mark Richt, man, they built the foundation, and it's just gonna take someone else to push them over that foundation.
Yep.
The COVID year, man, absolutely screwed Strickland. I mean, look at the dudes on that team, man. You're going down to Florida. It's 1 versus 2. They were playing. I mean, I feel for Coach Strickland, because that COVID year, he was going to do it. That was his ceiling to break through, right? And then after COVID, all those guys left. All of them left, man. Shepard, Hancock, Wilcox, down the line, just dudes out the door. But playing for Strickland was awesome, because he gave me that chance, and then he gave me another chance by allowing me to play. So, like I said, I think he built a great foundation at the University of Georgia, and I just think it's going to take that next guy to push Georgia over the finish line and become that top national program every year, like in Arkansas, like in LSU. And what better guy to go get than a guy who knows what he's doing? He is a professional. He's been a professional. And I don't want to bash any of my teammates. I don't want to bash any of my coaches. But I mean, if you look at Georgia the past three years, if we just had 2-3 more pitchers, just 2-3 more, or they developed 2-3 more guys with the lineups that we had, I mean, it's kind of crazy to look back. You're like, dang, we were this close, right? This close, and we just need that guy to push Georgia baseball over the finish line. And again, I love Josh Brooks. I love Josh Brooks. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He went out and he got a guy. Josh Brooks come to a lot of baseball games, and he sees exactly what I saw, man. What is the one thing Georgia's been missing? It's pitching. Not bashing any of my teammates. I love them all. The friends with them all. Just, you need that guy to push you over the finish line. I think Wes Johnson's going to be that guy. I think it's fantastic. And I did exactly what Jonathan did. I didn't know who he was. So what did I do, man? I just hit Google. Looked at his resume. You left off, not that you left off, but DBU. Dude, DBU is a great program. And he was there 2012, I think I saw. And that's when DBU really started to build. And now they're a postseason program. Maybe not year in and year out, but I mean, every couple of years, DBU makes a push in the NCAA regionals. So couldn't be more happier. I think Josh Brooks crushed it. Shout out Coach Shout out Coach Strickland, man. I love you. And that, yeah, man. I think it's just gonna take that next guy, push it over the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you made a. First of all, I want to start off by saying, Strickland definitely had some reason to take a chance on a kid like you, because you definitely came in and produced when you got here. Actually, I think we've talked about this before. Your first collegiate home run was at Georgia once you got here, so you turned it on when you got here. So you made him look like he was doing something right there.
I made him look like a superstar, man. Unreal. Unreal.
So it definitely worked out. He took the chance, like you said, and it definitely paid off for both parties once it was all said and done. I think nobody had any negative feeling towards it once it all played out. I think everybody was good with it. And then I think you made a really, really good comparison, because this is kind of how I've looked at it as well. When you talk about like Mark Richt in the same type of thing, right? You had Mark Richt for 15 years. You had Strickland for 10 years. They both had a year where they could have broken through that ceiling, right? You had 2012 was Georgia football's chance with Mark Richt, and they were about 5 yards short from getting to go to a national championship game against Notre Dame, who no chance Notre Dame beat Georgia that year, just like they had no chance against Alabama that year. So Mark Richt would have gotten that. He would have got that national championship. He needed 5 more yards in the SEC championship against Alabama that year and didn't quite get there.
Against a dynasty at the time. I mean, the best of the best. Arguably some of the best college football teams ever, and you're 5 yards. I mean, just a gut punch. Punch.
Absolutely kind of tore you apart. But then after that, and this is why I think it's such a good comparison, is after that, you get 2013, you don't really do anything. 2014 comes around, don't really do anything. 2015 comes around, and you're really not doing anything. Like you're just kind of backsliding.
Right.
And that's what happened with Georgia baseball. You had 2020, the COVID year, and everything was it was looking really good. Everything was looking like it was your chance, and then everything shut down. You had 3 solid starters on your pitching staff, and that's what you need in college baseball. You need 3 guys to go out there for your weekend series that are absolute studs. And you had, like you said, Hancock, Cole Wilcox, and C.J. Smith were your 1, 2, 3, and those dudes were absolutely throwing and just lighting people up. And then all of a sudden, COVID shuts the year down, or shuts the season down. Those two of those guys leave. I think CJ was here for 1 more year, but there was nobody else really in that rotation with CJ at that point. Yeah. And then it just kind of backslides. You get 21, 22, and now 23, where each year you've taken an extra step back and just can't quite put it together. Like you said, too, you had so many sluggers on the roster. You never struggled to score runs. Like, if there was a game that Georgia didn't score at least 5 runs, it was like few and far between.
I think on a consistent basis, I think we put up a lot of runs.
Yeah,
you're going to have those games where you score 2 runs, or you get shut out like that. That's the game of baseball.
Exactly. But those were few and far between over the past 3 seasons for Georgia baseball. They've scored plenty of runs, and the problem is, on the flip side, you've got your pitching staff consistently was giving up 5, 6 runs a game, and that's hard to win like that.
It's tough to play. I don't mean to cut you off. It's just tough to play sometimes when you don't feel safe with a 4-run lead. You got 2 innings, you're like, it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. Like that feeling, that's one of the worst feelings. You're like, you just know. You're like, they're gonna break through. They're gonna break the dam, and then you're up 4. Now you're down 2, and it's like that. And it's like that. That's the craziest part about playing. Is you could go up 6 like that, or you could blow 6 like that before you turn your head. You're like, what is going on? So that.
All it takes, and I think that's what makes it so important for you to have those starting pitchers, those top 3 starting pitchers, because if you have those solid starting pitchers, they're going 6, 7 innings, and maybe even giving you 8 innings. Right. Then you only have to go to your bullpen for 2, maybe 3 innings, and it makes it to where you only have to take 2 or 3 guys out of your pen to close that game out. When you have to go with 4 or 5 guys out of your pen, one of those guys is going to have a bad day. I always say it about the Braves. I hate when they have to do like a bullpen game and they start the game and like you go through 7 pitchers and it's one of those guys is going to have a bad day.
Yeah, it's just not his day.
It's a crapshoot. At that point, like whenever you have to pull that many arms out of the pen, somebody's going to not have a great day. And it is what it like. They might come out tomorrow and shut them down. 1, 2, 3 innings, strike out the side, that kind of thing. But that one day when you pull that many arms out of the pen, it's tough.
Another thing when I was there, and I have never seen this until I got to Georgia. I don't know if I was just ignorant or I just was not paying attention, but at Georgia, right? So you lose Wilcox, you lose Hankins. Next year, right? Ryan Webb is one of the best closers in the SEC, in the country, right? He's a closer.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and he's a starter. Now, he was good, right? But that's a big jump to go from I'm pitching 2 innings for my first 2 years of college, and now I'm expected to go, like you're saying, 6, 7. Can you give me 8? And I think at Georgia, it was, all right, I need someone out of the pen. You're starting. And I was like, first of all, their arms aren't used to it. I mean, Georgia, we had 5 to 7 Tommy Johns when I was there. Right?
Yep. They're overworking their arm
all over the country, right? But I think it's something to look at. You have to have established starters, and you have to have that established closer. And you really need one, right? You really just need one guy that throws gas, like Gowan. You kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know, that transition right there. I'd like to talk to more people. I don't know if I've ever seen it other than at Georgia, where people go. Well, obviously you had Landon Sims, but just the rate at Georgia when we were doing it, I just felt like something was off. I don't know. I just felt like something was off.
Well, it all goes back to your recruiting side of it, where you got to make sure. And in the state of Georgia, that's the part that always frustrated me and Jonathan is like high school baseball in Georgia is top tier, man. The amount of talent that comes out of the state of Georgia, and when you're talking about baseball, college baseball, so much of the rosters at every school is built by their in-state talent, right? You don't get that many guys from all over different states and stuff in baseball. You kind of get your guys from your local states or your surrounding states, kind of thing. And that they weren't able to consistently bring in those certified starters consistently, and they had to kind of make a plan they had to make a plan to fix it after that, and then they have to pull from the bullpen.
Well, just think about all of the local high schools in general. Like Cartersville High School was ranked as like one of the top 5 high schools in the country this year for baseball. And then Parkview, that's another team that always is loaded with talent. Lowndes County, Loganville, Cherokee Bluff, right down the road from me. They've got a lot of talent. They've got a kid that's going to Mississippi State this next year. Right. I mean, there's Houston County. That's another school in the state of Georgia that they're just always pumping out big. Man. Yeah, they literally, the state of Georgia is littered with high school baseball talent. It's the same thing that football, it's the same way. Basketball is the same way. It's the same thing for baseball. So if you can just tap into that, if you can get just a few more kids that are going to Mercer or are going to Florida down the road or South Carolina up north a little bit, if you can just get a few more of those kids to stay in Athens and just come up the road or down the road, wherever they're from in Georgia and stay there, that's a difference maker in a program. And I think that's why it's huge that Georgia went with a guy that is an established pitching coach, because college baseball specifically, in my opinion, as a spectator, is very much an offensive game, just because a lot of guys can hit. There's a lot of people, you go to high school games, it's the same way. Pitchers can hit. There's pitchers that rake in the college and in high school because they've done it their entire life. That's what they're born to do. And so if you can just get 2 or 3 guys that are viable starters that can go in there and shove for 6 innings, that's a difference maker in college. That is huge for you to be able to do that, because not a lot of programs have that privilege to be able to do that, to have 3 guys that they can count on every single week. Like anytime you got a weekend series, like you got a weekend series against Florida, you got your 3 guys that you can count on, and you can go in there and for a fact that they are going to give you 6 really solid innings, and you're going to be in the ball game late in the game every single time. Right. But if you don't have that, then it's just like you said, Jeremiah, it's kind of a crapshoot there at the end where you're just kind of like, man, we got a 3-run lead, but we're just hoping it sticks. But we're not very sure it is. We're just kind of tossing and turning and see what happens.
Right. Another thing is, I mean, you look at Georgia and I love Foley Field. I wanted to play there since I was 8. But, I mean, I went to A&M. I went to Arkansas. I went to LSU. I went to Vanderbilt. I went to Kentucky. I mean, it's just not even close, man. And what do these high school kids want? Right? What are these blue chip recruits, right? As you call them in football, blue chip recruits in baseball. Dude, show me the facilities. Show me it. And I think, like Josh Brooks is doing, $45 million bucks, man. That's that's a chunk of change to throw into Foley Field. And I think they're going to do a good job. I don't know how true to the designs that you've seen. I've only seen like 2 pictures. I've seen like the locker room and the new like concourse in right field. Right. With the bullpen, but that's all I've seen. But I think that's going to help tremendously too. just upgrading Foley Field to the max and making it one of the best places to play in the SEC.
We've talked about that a lot on this show between baseball and basketball. Like, if you want these programs to be at a national competitive type level, you've got to put money into it. And we were actually just talking about this the other day, where putting that money into the baseball program is exactly what you want to do right now. Like, that's what you've got to build it up and make it like. The frills and all the stuff like that isn't necessarily what it's all about. But you can't tell me there's a single high school kid that's going to go into the facility and see this brand new stuff, right? $45 million worth of new stuff in there and all that, and not be kind of wowed by it.
Exactly.
Or versus going into a place that may not be top tier and then going to a place that is a national powerhouse baseball team that pumps money into their program. Like there's several of them in the SEC. Think about how much like the facilities and stuff that Vanderbilt has. And yeah, they've been, national champions a lot in that sport. I get it. But think about the facilities and stuff that they have, that they go see that. And then they come to Foley Field and they're like, all right, that was pretty cool over there. Like it still leaves an indent, like an imprint in your mind. And whether or not it's your final decision-making thing, it could help. Like it doesn't hurt. I can tell you that much right now.
Would you rather play in front of 14,000 fans or 1,500 fans?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day,
I think that's the biggest thing. They've got to start. They really need to open more seats of it, because Georgia fans, I do think Georgia fans would show up for it.
Absolutely.
Especially if your team starts competing a little bit better too. Like but right now you limit it to very, very low number of fans. And
Right.
it's just,
Look,
it's not as exciting.
I'll go ahead and tell you that they'll show up, because I went to a few tennis matches this year, and they're packing out the stands at the tennis complex.
Right.
So Georgia fans are itching for anything that is good and competitive. The tennis, both
Yeah.
men's and women's teams were competitive in tennis. If you get the baseball team competitive, which they were competitive this year, like don't get me wrong, they weren't bad by any means. I went to several games myself. I went to the game where they clobbered Tennessee. Like they had potential to beat anybody on any given day. Like they had the talent all across the field. It was just a little bit of inconsistency. But I mean, if you get some consistency into the program, people are going to show up. Dog fans are itching to go see anything and everything athletic. So
Right.
they'll absolutely show up for baseball games.
No, keep going. I had a thought, it was good, but I lost it, so it's gone.
No, you're good.
I've got a question that I want to put up real quick for you, because I know we've talked about this with him too. Dan, this is your chance. I put you on the screen first of all, so remember this. Got a question for you. If he were at a college program and they brought in a legendary high school coach, would you respect that as much as a college assistant? So like think about your team. Say you were still at Georgia right now, and they made this change from Scott Strickland, and they went and got an established high school coach to come into the program versus going out and getting who they got right now.
I think that's such a tough question, right? Because you'd have to. He's your coach, right? And if you decided to stay and you decided to play for him, then I think, and he's established, I hope that he would. I gotta think. I would respect him if he was my coach. I'm not gonna be disrespectful to my coach on purpose.
Right.
Are you kidding me? Would I be a little on edge about how is this gonna play out? Right. And then obviously you go through fall camp and you get a good sense of a coach, man. First couple weeks, you're like, does he have it or not? Is he a dude or not? So yeah, I wouldn't have a problem if that's what the administration felt like was the right path and they saw something in him that maybe I didn't see. It's not my job to put the coach on the field. It's my job to play baseball. Right.
Yeah,
and at the
absolutely.
end of the day, he's your coach. So I would respect him. I think it's tough, though. I think that's a good question.
I mean, I
It's
think it's
definitely tough. Go ahead, John.
I think it's tough anytime bringing in a new coach, because, I went through 3 head coaches in 4 years for basketball my high school year. I had one for my first 2 years. I had one for my third year. He left right after his first year. And then I had another one my senior year. So like anytime a new guy's coming into the building, it's hard, going through summer practice with a guy that is like, man, we just got to know the first coach, and now we have to build a whole new relationship with this guy. Now, I know my circumstance is very different, very, very different, because most times college coaches are not being fired after 1 or 2 years or leaving after 1 or 2 years in most circumstances. But just in general, building that connection with a coach, it does take time. But, even though I had 3 of them, like every time they set foot into the building, I approached it with the same way, Josh. Like I'm going to respect him until maybe he proves me otherwise that I shouldn't, or that I shouldn't trust him. Right. But He's in charge of me. He wanted to come here. He chose to come here. He believed in this program, so I should believe in him. At least, give him my trust for now until, like I said, he told burn the bridge.
Out to start. I think that's where I think that's how you have to approach it. Just, all right, I'll give you this one, but you got to show me, just like I have to show you, right? It's a two-way street, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think that kind of playing off that with Wes Johnson bringing in a guy who knows how to win. He knows how to recruit. He's seen what a winning culture and winning facilities. So I think he's going to do exactly. And I hate to do this, but it's like the perfect comparison. What Kirby did when he came in, he said, "No, this is not how you do it to win. That's not how you do it to win. This is how you have to do it to win." And hopefully Wes Johnson can bring that to Georgia baseball and put some banners up on that wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things, like what you said a second ago, you got to trust the administration on the decision that they made at this coaching staff. Because one thing that we've learned about Josh Brooks since he's taken over as the AD is he knows how to go out and hire new coaches. He did a phenomenal job with Mike White as well. And so far that's looking really good. He's recruiting really well. He's winning already first year, winning more games. It's not taking him much time at all to kind of turn the program into the right direction.
Women's soccer, they got a USC coach. They got the USC track and field coach.
Yep.
I don't think Josh Brooks plays around. I don't think he plays.
No.
He's a winner.
So with that, you've got to trust the fact that they know what they're doing. And so when they make the decision, if it was a high school coach, that means if me as a fan, I would sit back and go, you know what? At this point, Josh Brooks has given me nothing to doubt as far as his administrative abilities of going and hiring a new coach. So I'm going to trust it as a fan, and we'll see how it plays out. Now, obviously, if things go bad, guess what? I mean, Tom Crean was only here for a couple years, had to get him out.
Yeah.
If it's not working, you got to make that move kind of thing. So you got to give him a few years to kind of build it. In college, you got to recruit. You got to let those guys age.
You got to give him 5, 6 years, man. Realistically, right? Two full recruiting cycles, like freshman to senior. So that's how I feel. 5 to 6 years is how you're gonna determine are we on the right path, or are we back to square one?
And I think with baseball is one of those sports too that honestly, in the next 2 to 3 years, you should be making the tournament, right? You should be able, because all you got to do is go out and get like we talked about earlier, go get a couple of those starters. Now, I'm not saying that, if he's not doing a lot after 2 or 3 years, he's gone. I think you're right. Give him 5, 6 years, something like that to really show that he's able to elevate the program. But we should be able to see some results within the next 2 to 3 years. We should be trending upward. That's what you want to see, and then you can give him the next 2 to 3 years after that to prove that you can win.
In 6 years, he's already ahead of where I hate to say it, where we were in the past. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we're all kind of excited to see what takes baseball or what Georgia baseball goes on to moving forward. But we will obviously talk more about Georgia baseball throughout the offseason at times, and then when the baseball season rolls around, we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that. Next thing on the topic list is in the title, and it's more NIL controversy, and it's all circulating right now around the new NCAA football game that's supposed to come out in 2024. It's about how much money these players are going to make from the game, right? They're going to get paid on their name, image, and likeness. And Josh, you're the one that suggested the topic about this morning when we were talking. So I'm going to kick it over to you and let you start us off.
Right. So I think maybe we did a segment on NIL last time, and I've been very prominent or adamant about it's not the school's responsibility to pay these kids. They're already getting scholarships. You're getting free tuition. You're getting meals. You're getting room and board. You're getting yada, 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 yada. Right. But if Gatorade wants to give Bryce Young $15 million, why should the NCAA even? What do they have to say about that? It's not even you. It's not even you. It has nothing to do with you. So just if companies want to invest in these kids, I think that's totally cool. I just don't think the University of Georgia should be giving out, whatever, $10,000 a month to people, to certain players. I think that's where you would run into just I can't even imagine what Kirby and all these college coaches have to deal with right now.
It's tough.
In regards to NCAA 24, like I said, Stoddard hit me up earlier today, and I was like, yeah, man, I was on the toilet, and I raged. I was like, you're getting $500, and our generation, that's the only game I played.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
sit right there on, those TVs that were the size of couches.
The old box TVs, man.
Yeah, the big old box TVs, man. And I would sit right there. And I'm like, you're playing college football. They're gonna give you money to be in the game. And you're in a video game, something that every athlete, no matter from the time you figure out what a video game is, you're like, dude, I want to be in a video game. Are you kidding me? I can't even imagine to be. I was talking to my coworker today. I was like, dude, imagine being on the cover of Madden. Just legendary. Are you kidding me? There's been 26 of them, and you're one of 26 people ever to grace the cover of a video game. So I think these kids should just take the money. I had a tweet earlier today. I think part of the problem is these people who are telling these kids, "Hey, don't do that. Don't do that." Well, dude, you were not in the same position as him. Well, this wasn't even around. This wasn't even a thought when you were in college. If you were in college playing sports, so I think the kids should just take the money, run. Maybe if I'm NCAA, I think just give every team that's in the game, give every player on the team a copy of the game every year. That's how I would do it. Every year, you get $500 every year, and you get a copy of the game. And I don't know. I don't see any problem with that. EA is no different than Gatorade. EA is no different than Nike. They're a company. You can't tell EA what to do. If EA doesn't want to do it, they'll just be like, all right, then we're not making the game, and I would cry. That would be.
I think what's crazy too is to talk about these players wanting to hold out because it's just like you said, Josh, like you are getting paid just for your name to be in a freaking video game, like something that no other college football player has ever gotten to experience. No other college football player prior to you has gotten any sort of money, not even $1 or a penny to their name to have anything legally, to have their name put in a video game. Now I know it's kind of minuscule that it's just your name really, but it's all, I mean, heck, it's your name, image, and likeness that they're using in this football game. And they're wanting to give you $500. I mean, what did most of us do when we get a new sports video game? We want to go make ourselves. We want to go put our name into the video game. We want to make ourselves. We want to get all the drip. We want to look swaggy and we want to look cool. They're going to do that for you. They're going to make you already in the game. And then they're going to say, oh, and here's $500 for you doing nothing other than being a college athlete, being a college football player. So the fact that there's some of these athletes saying like, oh, well, I'm worth way more than $500. Well, look, here's my thought. If you're over here arguing over $500 about a college football game, maybe you need to kind of reevaluate yourself and your worth in NIL, because if this is the battle that you are picking, clearly you're losing. Yeah, clearly you are losing. Other businesses aren't valuing either if you're arguing over $500, because you're probably not getting money from anywhere else if this is the hill that you're wanting to die on. So like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I'm with you, Josh. Like, take your $500, be in a freaking video game for every little kid to use you with your name, and move on, man. Like, live the life that everybody wants to live.
I couldn't imagine if Stetson Bennett was saying he was like, I'm going to hold out. Like, dude, everyone in the state of Georgia would buy the game and play as you.
Yeah.
What do you complain? Like, there's nothing to complain about, dude. Like I said, take the money, run, play the game.
Especially like think about like prominent players, right? Like because it's not your second string offensive lineman that's going to be saying they're going to hold out of this, right? Like it's going to be, because once again they're going to be like, hey, that's cool, my name's in the game, I'm going to get to play as this team, I'm going to get to see my name on a video game, hear them call it, all that kind of stuff. It's the reason that like the my player stuff in MLB, in Madden, all that stuff, it's the reason that those game modes are the most played game modes of it, because guess what, you get to build your character, put yourself in the game. So once again, it's not going to be the backups that are doing this. And also, by the way, they're not even going to be able to put every single player of every team in there, because there are 120 different FBS teams that have agreed to participate in it. Let's think about the numbers of that right now. Even if they just did scholarship athletes, which I think is like 86 on a roster, right? Is that the scholarship count? 85, 86? 85.
85, right?
With, say it's 85. That means it is, I did the math on this earlier, and sorry if I'm wrong, if someone else correct me, it's over $5 million worth of stuff going out to these players just at $500 per player. They can't pay the quarterback at one team higher than another. They can't, like, they have to pay everybody equally. So if you think you're worth $3,000, well, guess what? That number from $5 million goes up to way, way higher at that point. And
it would be foolish for them to to bargain with these kids. I mean, if I was EA and they're going to start, I'd be like, whatever, man. I'm just not going to make
Well, yeah,
it.
I mean, just think
Like,
about it.
yeah.
Like it's what Stoddard's saying is like, say Brock Bowers, for example, is like, well, I think I myself am worth $5,000. If you want to use my name in this video game, I think I'm worth $5,000. Well, Caleb Williams over there in California is like, hold on, I just won the Heisman last year. So if Brock Bowers is over there getting $3,000 or $5,000, then I should be getting like $10,000. And it's just the trickle effect.
And the thing is like, dude, if you're Caleb Williams, he doesn't care. He's about to make $40 million in less than a year. You honestly think he cares about do you think he cares about getting $5,000 from EA?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
No. And I don't think any of these prominent kids. So I'd like to find out who these kids are that are speaking up, because I promise you there's just no way it's the faces of college football that are saying this, because they know in less than a year, if they're draft eligible, they're millionaires.
Well, and think about player like there's a Tennessee quarterback that got a $8 million NIL deal to go to the school. I mean, if he's holding out over $500, like, man, first of all, you should, with that much money to come play football in college, you should be going to the NFL and getting drafted pretty high. And also, that's $8 million already.
They better win you 3 national championships.
I mean, seriously. Like, that's the stuff that makes it crazy. And this is the funny part, right? Speaking on that, when you're talking about guys potentially going to the NFL and all that, well, do they realize that if they go to the NFL and they'll be put in Madden, they know they don't get paid for that, right? Madden doesn't pay the players. Did y'all know that?
Oh, really?
Madden does not pay the players. They pay the NFLPA, the Players Association, and the Players Association divvies that money out to former players that are retired and other things like that. It goes towards that.
It's like part of the pension.
Yeah, it goes into that type of money, but they are not paid to be in the game themselves. They will never see any of the money from Madden until they are somebody that's been in the league long enough to qualify for those benefits and stuff like that. So, shocker for the guys in college that want to be in the game or don't want to be in the game because they're only going to make $500. If you go to the NFL, you're still not going to make money from the game directly. I mean, it's just how it works. And
that's life, dude. Life isn't fair.
Amen.
Life isn't fair.
Well, and at the end of the day, this is the thing. I think a lot of people have made the comment, and I've heard like what you're saying too, Josh. Well, they just won't make the game. Nah, I think NCAA will make the game, and guess what? You're going to just be Jimmy John II at quarterback for Clemson instead of having your real name in there. And so guess what? You're going to be one of the few people on your team that's not on the game, and all your family and everybody around you is going to be like, why aren't you in the game? Well, they only wanted to give me $500, so I didn't want to be in a video game.
So you're telling me so you think that they're going to, if someone says, I want 10 grand, they're going to be like, nope, okay, he's out. Scratch his name off.
I guess that's the only thing you can do is if you're like, if they don't want the money and they want to bargain more, like, then I guess, you're going to be whatever, like number 11, or you're going to be number 15, like in the old days.
Guess what? No matter if it's a completely auto-generated roster or not, I'm playing that game. Honestly, I personally, I think it would be cool, but guess what? No NCAA game has ever had the players' names and everything on there. Yes, they tried to model them pretty similar, and that's why the game stopped after a while. I get it. But they've never been the player. And guess what you can do with that game in Madden, and you can do the same thing in the old ones. You can download rosters, man. You don't think people are going to make it and put you in the game and use you anyways? I mean, that's the part that's crazy.
Free money, man. You shouldn't even get it.
Take it, or you're not going to get anything, and the game's still going to be made.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, I just did it, right? So you said 120 times. I did 85, right? So that's 10,200 athletes, right? Let's say 3,000 say, "No, I'm worth more." So now it's 7,200, right? Does that 500 go up?
I don't think so.
Or
I don't think so.
So they just stick it. Whoever wants in is in.
I think that's what they're offering, because you got to think about this game too. The game doesn't also just have to pay the player to this point. They have to do what they've always had to do, like stadiums and stuff like that have their own rights based on the cities. And like there was an example in Madden that they actually I can't remember the stadium off the top of my head. There's a stadium they actually have to pay the city to be able to use that stadium and stuff, because it doesn't belong to the team or anything like it. So the same kind of, like, obviously in college, these stadiums belong to the universities and stuff like that, but they have to pay for the stadium likeness and all that kind of stuff as well. And if you're stuck over $500, I promise you they're still going to make this game, and they're just going to make you some random auto-generated player that And at this point, they will make sure it looks nothing like you and has nothing to resemble you. So you just will be completely out of the game.
Autonomous. See ya. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I mean,
I would just be.
I would say, like, see, like beforehand, the issue that I had with this whole thing was the colleges that were speaking out for their players already and saying, like, we don't want to sign this. We don't want to do anything anyways. Like, we don't want our players being paid for this video game. We like, because you said there's 120 FBS schools started that have signed to be in the video game or whatever. Well, there's 132 FBS teams. So that's 12 colleges out there. FBS college football programs that are saying, like, we don't want any part of this. And so those are just going to be randomized. And there's probably going to be some big schools that ones that might be a little shocking or maybe not even shocking, that you're going to get that video game on the first day it's released. And it's like, hold up. Why are their players not in here? Like, why is it a bunch of numbers when Georgia is over here with every single player, every single number, every single correct attribute and what's so, like, that was the issue I had. But now it's just so infuriating that for the longest time, for like since 2013, we have all wanted the same thing. Everybody that is a college football fan, college football player, yada, 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 everybody has wanted the same thing. We just want the game back. And everybody said for the longest time, like, we will do anything. Just give us the game back. That's all we want. Just bring it back. And now we get the game back, and it's going to come out next summer. We're a year out from it. And this is what it's come to, is that, like,
they've already delayed it. It was supposed to come out this summer in July.
It was supposed to come out this summer, but like, it's just so infuriating that, like, we've waited this long and we all said that this is all we want, and now we're bickering over it again.
Yeah, I honestly don't. I like Souders. I don't care.
Yeah,
like, quit delaying. It's if I would give him a date, right? Just give him a deadline.
Yeah.
You want any out? It's coming out on the 25th of December. You want anyone out?
Yeah,
But I don't know why those 12 schools. That's crazy. That's just free publicity, and you're getting paid for it. Why would you?
I don't know, man.
I really don't know. I don't understand the logic behind that either. It really doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I mean, my thing is, at this point, as college football fans, like you said, especially our generation, we grew up playing that game so much, and we were still young when they stopped making it. So it was like we were all just so thirsty for the game to come back out, and all that. It's going to come back out. I'm buying the game no matter what. I don't care who's on the cover. I don't care if they just put the college football championship trophy on the cover. I'm still buying the game. I'm not doing it for the players specifically. So I think that's where they're going to find out that their pool may not be as much as they think it's going to be, because guess what? They'll still release that game, and EA will make a crap ton of money and just won't give it to you. That's all they're going to do.
Dude, it might be that game might be the most sold game of all time.
It's gonna blow up. It's absolutely going to blow up. And the thing is, the issue is the College Football Players Association, the CFBPA, is the one that they're orchestrating. And I don't know who all is, like, the leaders of that. I don't know, all that stuff. But whoever it is and whoever's in charge of it and all the players that are, representatives for it, they're the ones trying to orchestrate a holdout. So they're trying to do it. And I don't know, like, I mean, what if, like, you're just like, dude, y'all are going to ruin this for everybody else. I just want to be in the game. I just want my $500. Like, and I just want, honestly, keep the dang money, put me in the game. I don't care. Just like, there are going to be people out there like that. And then there's people that are thinking they need to make more money than that. And I mean, hopefully it doesn't mess up the game, and hopefully it doesn't delay the release date any longer than it's already been. Cause like I said, all college football fans, and they're just thirsty for it, no matter what it is at this point.
Yeah. I don't even think it's college football fans. I think it's just video game people who like sports games, and it's going to be nuts. I think it's going to be nuts.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to get into another segment. We talked about doing buy-sell college football teams, but we are 45 minutes in practically, just talking off of baseball and, of course, this NIL deal. So I think we're going to call it there. Unless Josh or Stoddard, you guys got anything else you want to add into this?
I think I'm good. I think we said enough.
He shows up with
how
about those dogs? That's what it's all about. We appreciate you guys for showing up tonight. The comment section was active as always. We appreciate all of you guys that show up. Josh, we appreciate you coming on again and talking it up with us. We always like to bring in new perspective, especially in a conversation like this where we didn't play college sports. We specifically did not play college baseball. So it's always great to get some insight from a guy that lived that, especially at the University of Georgia. And that was a hot topic. So we know that we had to bring you in, especially someone that also is a listener of ours, a big fan of ours. So we always got to show love to you. So we appreciate you coming on here. And Stoddard, you get to, before I do that, like and subscribe before you head on out. You got to do all that stuff. Help us out. Help us continue to grow. Almost forgot my duties of doing all the shout outs and helping us grow, whatever. So yeah, like and subscribe before you leave. And now, Stoddard, you can close us out.
Yeah, absolutely. As always, guys, keep it classy in the Classic City, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Classic City Sports. Take a second to subscribe, rate, review, and share with your friends and family. Feel free to reach out to the Classic City Sports crew on Twitter with any topics you'd like discussed. You can reach out to Jeremiah at The Stodfather, to Jonathan at Dr._J Will, and make sure to follow at Classic City Pod for show updates. Check back next week for a brand new episode. In the meantime,
two simple words which express the sentiments of the entire Bulldog Nation.